is an authority on 13 countries you have probably never heard of. What is your name, please?
My name is John Sack.
What is your name, please?
My name is John Sack.
What is your name, please?
My name is John Sack.
Two of these people are imposters. Only one is the real John Sack, and is the only one sworn to tell the truth. Now, here is our host, Bud Collyer.
Thank you very much, and welcome once again to Tell the Truth. Now, may I introduce our panel. What is your name, please?
My name is Betty White.
My name is Ralph Bellamy.
My name is Kitty Carlisle.
My name is Tom Poston.
I'd like to take just a moment to thank very warmly my good friend Sonny Fox, who kept things dinging around here very nicely for you, I understand, the last 2 weeks. Without his assistance, I couldn't have gotten away for the 2 weeks vacation that I did have, and it was wonderful. Thank you, Sonny. Now, panel, let's go right to your copies of this first affidavit, and I'll read from mine. I, John Sack, am an author. My most recent book, published last week, is titled Report from Practically Nowhere, and is an account of my journey to 13 countries whose importance can hardly be underestimated. In addition to well-known places like Liechtenstein, Andorra, San Marino, and Monaco, I also have visited countries which nobody ever goes to and most people have never even heard of. Countries like Lundy, which is ruled by a king named Mr. Harmon. Athos, whose inhabitants are all men. The SMOM, which is only 1/2 acre in size. And Punial, whose only claim to fame is the fact that it grows 100 different varieties of apricots. In addition to these fascinating places, I have also written extensively about the countries of Sark, Sikkim, Sharjah, Amb, and Swat. Signed, John Sack. So we start off tonight, panel, with three gentlemen all claim to be John Sack, author of Report from Practically Nowhere. Let's start tonight with Betty White.
Thank you, Bud. Number 3, how come there are only men in Athos?
They're monks.
Oh, they're what?
They're monks.
They're all monks.
That answers my question, and I'm going to leave it right there, believe me. Number 1, what does SMOM stand for?
Sovereign Military Order of St. John of Jerusalem, Rhodes, and Malta.
No. Number 2, what is the population of SMOM?
Close friends. It's Mom.
There are two people there now. There really are 3, but one is dead. You can have 3 legally.
Are they boys and girls, or just boys?
No, they're all men, too.
I see.
But only one lives in, the other one lives out.
How do you find this?
One lives out. Ralph Bellamy.
Number 1. One of the principal industries of Sark, Sikkim, Sharjah, Amb, and Swat.
Well, which one there?
All of them. All right, take them in order. Sark.
Sark, well, they don't have much industries. Am doesn't either. Everybody is so hot, they sit in the river all the time trying to cool off. Liechtenstein makes...
No, never mind Liechtenstein. Sikkim.
They're making scotch now.
Scotch. What about Sharjah and Swat?
Sharjah grows a lot of fish, and Swat makes honey.
All right, number 1 again. Were you on a midnight to 5:30 radio program recently?
That's right, yes.
What was the name of the program?
The Long John Show.
Long John. Number 2, were you on this program?
That's right, yes.
Who was on with you?
Oh, there were a collection of people. There was
Just name a couple of names.
I don't know their names.
Kitty Carlisle.
Number 1, what's the family name of Sark's dame?
Mrs. Hathaway. Hathaway
Mrs.
family.
Hathaway. Number 2, where is Sikkim, where they make the scotch?
Well, that's between, well, first of all, it's northeast of Swat to begin with, but it's south of Tibet, be east of Nepal, and be west of Khartoum.
Thank you very much. Number 3, what's the population of Lundy?
12.
Who are they?
12 people.
Who are the population of Lundy, number one?
Well, there's the king. That's Mr. Harmon. And Mr. Gade, Mrs. Gade. And there's a girl who collects birds. And a few lighthouse keepers. That comes about 12.
Tom Poston, please.
Number 3, I see SWAT is was Babe Ruth ever the Sultan of SWAT?
Only in America.
What is the Sultan of SWAT's name?
He's the Wally of SWAT.
Wally Ruth. Wonderful name. Ball player. Number 2, where is the SMOM?
SOM, it's in downtown Rome. It's next to a haberdashery shop.
But it's a private country?
That's right, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. On that note, it's time to vote. And without consultation, panel, will you please mark your ballots, and in so doing, select number 1, number 2, or number 3. Remember, please, the team of challengers will get $250 for every incorrect vote. Okay, all set, panel? Betty, for whom did you vote?
Well, number 1 sounded so much like the one that I think it's number 3, because you're pretty sneaky around here.
And what about you, Ralph?
Number 1. He had a glint in his eye that seemed to indicate a certain amount of humor, which I think was attached with this book, and I did hear a little bit of him on, if he's the right man, I think he is, on Long John's program the other night.
You stay up late, don't you?
Once in a while. I get home late.
Boy, with acting in Sunrise at Campobello and getting home late and staying up late, you better watch it, Ralph.
Yeah.
Kitty?
I voted for number 1. Number 3 didn't know who was on Lundy. There were few enough of them to know. And I think it is Hathaway, the Sark's dame's family name.
And Tom Poston, your choice.
I voted for number 3, obviously because I'm not as smart as Kitty. And I wasn't listening, but I'm just about as smart as Betty, so I guess we'll be all right.
All right, there you have it, and our minds are sort of made up. We'll discover now which one of these 3 gentlemen is the real John Sack, author of Report from Practically Nowhere. So, may I ask the real John Sack to please stand up. Thank you very much, sir. Number 2, would you tell us who you really are and what you do?
Yes, I'm Lee Perkins, radio officer on the SS Momac Star, running to South America for McCormick Lines.
Thank you, sir. And number 3, what about you, sir?
I'm Dr. Robert Abel from Elizabeth, New Jersey.
Well, there you have it. In checking over the voting, we find there were 2 incorrect votes at $250 each for a total of $500 from Marlboro. Gentlemen, thank you ever so much. On the way out, you will find a carton of Marlboro cigarettes for each of you. Good night and good luck. Now, panel, let's meet our next team of challengers.
What is your name, please?
My name is Mrs. Bob Dover.
What is your name, please?
My name is Mrs. Bob Dover.
What is your name, please?
My name is Mrs. Bob Dover.
All right, panel, once again, would you direct your attention to your copies of this affidavit? I, Mrs. Bob Dover, was born in a circus wagon. My mother and father were aerialists, and I have been a circus performer all my life. I am now with Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey Circus. Currently, I perform as a bareback rider and also work in a juggling act. In past years, I have worked on the balancing ladder and on the flying trapeze. Signed, Mrs. Bob Dover. All right, panel, 3 lovely ladies, all claiming to be Mrs. Bob Dover, circus performer. Let's start this round of questioning with Ralph Bellamy. Ralph?
Number 1, you seem to have an accent. What country are you from?
I am from Germany.
Germany. Number 2, where are you from?
From Italy.
Italy. Number 3, where are you from?
Hungary.
That's a lot of help. Number 1, where are the Ringling Brothers' winter quarters?
In Sarasota, Florida.
Number 2, what is the meaning of and the origin of tan bark? Tan bark.
I don't understand the question.
tan bark.
Tan
The expression
bark.
tan bark.
Number 3, can you
never
answer
heard.
that question?
The tan bark is the sawdust on the grounds, on the rinks.
What's the origin of it?
That I
Number
don't know.
1, do you know?
I would not know, no.
Number
You could
1.
tell me.
I beg pardon?
You could tell me.
You tell me, who's the public relations man for Ringling Brothers?
The public...
Public relations, press man.
Oh, I can't think of the name now.
Kitty Carlisle.
Number 1, who, you all have, are so pretty and have such beautiful legs, it's hard to choose. Number 1, who was Lillian Lightsell?
Lillian
Lightsell.
Lightsell. I can't remember the name.
Number 2, do you know who Grimaldi was?
No, I don't.
Number 3, Mrs. Bob Dover, number 3. Who is Mr. Bob Dover?
He's my husband.
I mean, what does he do?
Oh, he's a personal director at Ringling Brothers.
Oh, I see. Number 1, can you tell me what famous singer Mr. Barnum brought to this country?
Beg your
What
pardon?
famous singer
What famous singer?
Barnum brought? Do you know number 2?
He has nothing...
Tom Poston.
Number 2, I see here that you do a bareback riding act. Do you work alone?
Yes, I know.
No horse. That must be sensational.
Pretty good trick, Tom.
Number 1, could you describe your balancing ladder routine?
Yes, I work, I step up on the ladder with no support. I take the ladder and I step up. It is about 8 foot high. And when I get on top, I juggle. I do that with my brother. He is on the other ladder.
But he's not very good, so he gives you no support.
Well, we both have no support.
Oh, you both have no support.
That is the balancing on the ladder.
Betty White.
Thank you, Bud. Number 2, your mother and father were aerialists, and you were born in a wagon. You're lucky.
That's not applause you hear, that's the storks flying.
Where was this, number 2?
It was in Italy?
It was in Italy?
Yes.
Whereabouts in Italy?
Milan.
In Milan. Number 3, when do you open in New York?
Pardon me?
When do you open in New York with the circus?
We're opening on the 27th of March.
And number 1, what date of the week does that fall on?
27th of May. I don't know. I have not looked calendar.
That's it, panel. Time once again to vote. And without consultation, will you kindly mark your ballots again and select as you did before, number 1, number 2, or number 3? All marked? Oh, you're fast tonight. Betty, for whom did you vote this time?
Gee, I just switched courses right at that very last. I was all set for number 3, but I think May 27th is the proper date. I'm going to go for number 1.
Okay, Ralph, what about your vote?
Very same reason, that last-minute switch.
Okay.
Well,
Kitty?
I'm voting for number 3 because number 1 is German and didn't know Lillian Lightsell, and number 2 is Italian and didn't know Grimaldi. So I'm left with number 3.
And what about your vote, Tom?
Oh, it makes me stupid again.
Thanks again.
I voted for number 2, but I'm the only one that's that dumb, I guess. I tell you, the last-minute switch in the dates convinced me that neither one of them knew. I better go with number 2.
Okay, there we have it. Votes in and minds made up. We'll discover now just how dumb Tom Poston is as we discover which one of these ladies is the real Mrs. Dover. I'm going to ask all of these ladies, if they will, to please step up now and come in front of their desks as we discover which one of them is the real Mrs. Bob Dover, circus girl. Thank you very much. These lights here, believe me, when you stare into them and try to watch things like that, they blind you enough so you can't even see your own hands working. It's a little different than working where you usually do. Thank you so much. Number one, tell us who you really are and what you do.
My name is Hedy Harms. I work for Associated Aviation Underwriters. I sell flight insurance at the Eastside Airlines, at the Central Airlines building on 42nd Street.
And number three, what about you?
My name is Lila Cass, and I study acting. And at the present, I work as a waitress at the Gaslight Club.
Thank you. Well, we had fun with that one, I'll tell you. And the panel didn't do too well. When you check up on the score, we discovered that there was only one that picked our pretty number two as the real one. So that means 3 incorrect votes at $250 each for a fact. Still feel dumb, Tom?
The dumbest reason possible. Huh?
What was the reason, Tom?
I can't tell you now, but...
All right, $750 for you ladies from Marlboro. And on your way out, you'll find a carton of Marlboro cigarettes for each of you. I hope you had fun visiting us. We certainly enjoyed the show. And we'll come and see you in the circus, young lady. Good night and good luck. Now, panel, let's meet our third team of challengers.
What is your name, please?
My name is James Edward Obanoff.
What is your name, please?
My name is James Edward Obanoff.
What is your name, please?
My name is James Edward Obanoff.
All right, panel, again, will you follow along with your copies of this affidavit? I, James Edward Obanoff, am a lieutenant in the United States Air Force. About 10 months ago, I was flying co-pilot in a B-47 Strategic Air Command jet bomber when one of the engines caught fire and began to spray the ship with flame and burning debris. Orders were given to bail out. As I made my way along the catwalk to jump from the nose compartment, I saw the instructor navigator lying unconscious without parachute or oxygen equipment. Everyone else had left the burning plane. I worked my way back to the pilot's compartment. The cockpit canopy was gone, and in the open air, at better than 500 miles an hour, in a temperature of 30 degrees below zero, I regained control of the ship. For an hour and a half, I flew the crippled airplane back toward our home base. On the ground, it was raining, and the ceiling was 1,500 feet. With the help of radar, I finally landed the plane with my unconscious passenger. My face and hands were frostbitten, and I was temporarily blinded. 2 days later, I was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross. The story of my flight has been dramatized in a film which will be seen on network television next Monday night. Signed, James Edward Obanoff. So, panel, 3 fine young men, all claiming to be Lieutenant James E. Obanoff. We'll begin this round of questioning with Kitty Carlisle. Kitty?
Thank you, Bud. Number one, what an extraordinary story, all of you. At what speed does sound crack the, how fast do you go to crack the sound barrier?
760 knots per hour at sea level.
Miles
per hour at sea level.
Number two, what program is your television show going to be seen on?
The Goodyear Theater next Monday night.
Number three, can you tell me what an X-15 is?
Yes, that's an experimental rocket ship.
Number one, how high were you traveling when the accident occurred?
34,000 feet.
Number two, did you have to get oxygen to the navigator at that altitude?
No, the navigator had already ejected.
The fellow you saved.
He was a navigator instructor.
Well, didn't you have to get him some oxygen? It says he was lying here without any.
Oh, I came down to a lower altitude so he wouldn't die of anoxia.
Oh, I see. What?
Tom?
Number three, how high do you have to be before you need oxygen? In a plane, I mean, not in Come to think of it, how high do you have to be before you need oxygen? Anywhere.
10,000 feet, approximately.
Approximately 10,000 feet? Number two, would you care to comment on that answer?
I'd say that's correct.
Number one, would you?
Oh, approximately, yes.
That's liquid measure.
This is a little tricky question. You fellows don't mind. I'll tell you right now, it's slightly tricky. How many engines, number one, how many engines does a Pylon 8 have?
Pylon 8? None.
Number two?
I agree, none.
Number three?
None.
Number 3, can you tell me what a pylon 8 is?
No.
That's number 2, what a pylon.
Betty White, please.
I wanted to Tom Poston, what's a pylon 8? No. Number 1, what is a pylon 8?
I really don't know. I think it's some kind of maneuver, but I don't know.
Number 2, what's a pylon 8?
I don't know.
Number 3, what's a chandelle?
A chandelle is a maneuver.
I always thought it was a perfume.
Number 1, what is a tour jeté?
If you're a ballet dancer, it helps if you can do it.
It does. Number 2, don't you have ejection seats in a B-47?
That's right.
How come you weren't ejected at the time?
There was a mechanical malfunction.
Ralph?
Number 1, what was your mission?
We're on a routine training mission. In SAC, it's simulated bombings of various cities, and we were on such a mission.
Number 2, how many were in the crew?
There were 3 in the crew.
Number 3, what does dew line mean?
That is...
Afraid that's it. Time to vote. Waited as long as I could. Just call it a malfunction and let's get on to voting. Please mark your ballots, if you will, for number 1, number 2, or number 3. Oh, everybody's pausing on this one. Not so fast in marking this time. Okay, Betty, for whom did you vote?
Well, I'm going to be real obvious this time. The answers out of number 2 sounded nice and nice.
Okay, what about yours, Ralph?
Number 2, it was a hard toss-up between 1 and 2, but I think number 2.
Kitty?
Well, I'm stupider than you are this time, because you got technical knowledge about pylons, but I didn't think... I thought number 2... I thought number 3 hesitated on the dew line, and number 2 looked like he might have been frostbitten, or I don't know.
All right, you there on the end who are smarter than Kitty.
It's either nobody or Bud Palmer. Listen, I have to really, I want number 2. I choose number 2, but I really must insist that a pylon 8 is much too familiar to a flyer. There hasn't been any fibbing in there, has there anywhere, number 2? It's a training turn around 2 pylons.
Mm-hmm. It may be the pylon that already bailed out. Okay, there we have it, and that's our voting. Now, we've got to move along to find out, I'm sure, first of all, that you and I and everybody here would all like to meet the officer who was lying unconscious in that B-47 when Jim Obanoff brought it down. So here, ladies and gentlemen, is Major Joe Maxwell. Major, good evening and welcome to the show. Certainly nice to have you with us, and I wonder if you do us a favor and show us which one of these gentlemen is the one who saved your life. Major Maxwell, you are an instructor navigator. Is that correct, sir?
That's right, but it's my job to train young officers as B-47 navigators.
Well, let me ask you something. Maybe you can set us straight. A lot of people have been led to believe that now we're in the age of guided missiles and rockets, that such men as navigators and pilots are no longer necessary. Is that true?
That's not true, Bud. The pilots and the navigators who guide them to the targets are still the backbone of the United States Air Force. Mm-hmm. And through the natural evolutions of the systems, these men will be the ones that will take over and man the spacecraft when they become operational equipment. Mm-hmm. We need more of them, too.
Oh, I detect a subtle plea to report if you're interested to your nearest recruiting station. Is that right, sir?
That's right, Bud.
All right, Major. Thank you very much for being with us tonight, and good luck. Congratulations to you, young man. Let's find out about number 1 now. Number 1, would you tell us who you really are and what you do, please?
Well, my name is Roy McKechnie, and I'm the writer for a new comic strip called Tuck's Train.
Thank you, sir. And number 2, what about you, sir?
My name is Jerry Moore. I'm from Omaha, Nebraska, and I work here for the makers of Amoco Gas, the American Oil Company.
Thank you very much. And you also garnered all the votes. Well, we see there were 4 incorrect votes for a total of $1,000, gentlemen. Not bad for an evening's appearance on our show. Hope you had fun. On your way out, you'll find a carton of Marlboro cigarettes for each of you. Good night and good luck. Thanks for being with us. That's it, except to say to all of you, good night from Marlboro and good night to the panel, and reminding all of you to tell the truth. Good night, everybody.